Hello there. Welcome to the Good Old Days of Radio show. This is John Tefteller, your host. Tomorrow is the 4th of July, the commemoration of the founding of the United States of America. And every July 4th, we celebrate that here in the USA. We're going to have a special broadcast today. You can file this under previously never before heard radio broadcast. We can't find any evidence out there that what you're about to hear is available anywhere else. I rescued this from a storage locker in Long Island, New York, a few months ago, and I was surprised to see it because I knew that such things were recorded, but they are very hard to find. So what we have here is the rehearsal for the very famous Norman Corwin program, We Hold These Truths. And of course, it's very appropriate for 4th of July. This was broadcast on December 15th, 1941, just after Pearl Harbor. Corwin wrote this in response to the attack on America in Pearl Harbor, and it was a way of kind of rallying the American public into supporting what was going to be World War II real fast. Now, you're probably thinking, but wait, I've heard that. In fact, you played that on your podcast a while back. Well, sort of. Yes, we played the broadcast on the podcast, and the broadcast has been circulating around collectors' circles for many, many years. I did have and do have a transfer of that from the original transcription discs that I made long ago. But what we have today is not the broadcast. We have the dress rehearsal. It's either the dress rehearsal or just simply one of the rehearsals for the show. This was recorded 2 days before the broadcast on December 13th, 1941. What I would suggest is if you're really familiar with this program, then you'll immediately see that there are changes from what was broadcast. If you're not familiar with it, if you've heard it but don't remember it, I would suggest you go to our goodolddaysofradio.com website and look up when we played the original version of this, the broadcast version, and give that a listen before you proceed with listening to this, and then you can see the differences between the two programs. One of the biggest differences is what famous actors appear on this rehearsal versus what famous actors appeared on the actual program 2 days later. And there's a reason for that. Actors of this caliber, and Corwin used some of the biggest stars in Hollywood for this program, actors of this caliber were all involved in making movies. That's what they did. That was their main occupation. But they would do radio when they could and when it worked out. And when it worked out is the case here because apparently what happened is a number of stars were scheduled to be in the broadcast on the 15th of December, 1941. But on the 13th of December, when this rehearsal took place, a number of them were unable to make it because they were off shooting movies and doing what they do on a normal 9-to-5 basis or whatever the movie schedule is. The most notable absence that I can think of from the broadcast as it was broadcast, and the most noticeable absence here in the rehearsal is Lionel Barrymore. Barrymore is on the actual broadcast, but he is not on this. And so what they did, Corwin had an idea how to do this, is he would use character actors and radio actors in place of the stars that were unable to be there for the rehearsal. So you hear Hans Conried and Cliff Arquette. I don't believe either of those appear in the original broadcast. They may. But in any case, in this particular rehearsal, they're taking parts that were eventually played by the more big-name stars. So that's what this is. The original broadcast on the 15th of December ran 1 full hour. This runs less than that. Part of the reason it runs less than that is because at the end of the broadcast, as broadcast, they introduced Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president at the time, and Roosevelt comes on and gives the final little words of wisdom to the public and encouragement to fight back and begin the process of World War II. And I guess he wasn't available that day either. So what you have is you have the introduction given to President Roosevelt, and then he just doesn't appear. That's the end of the recording. They shut it down after that because Roosevelt wasn't there. So anyway, interesting little facts and tidbits. It would be really good to play these back to back. Listen to the broadcast first, or if you want, listen to this first and then listen to the broadcast. Either way, you're going to see some dramatic differences. All right, and again, this is something that has not been heard since 1941, as far as we can tell. So, from December 13th, 1941, here is the We Hold These Truths Bill of Rights program rehearsal.
We hold these truths. This is a program about the making of a promise and the keeping of a promise. This is a program about the rights of people. This is a program coming to you over the combined radio networks of the United States, bringing you the voices of Americans, bringing you the voice of the President of the United States. This is a program for listeners in all zones of continental time, for listeners on ships away from home, for listeners in uniform, for listeners on the American islands in the two great oceans. This is a program about a guarantee made to the people of America 150 years ago. A guarantee that has been kept through peace and war and peace and war. A guarantee we call the Bill of Rights.
My name is Barrymore. I am one of several actors, but this is not a night of names, of personalities. Our names or any names are meaningless unless your names are added. Unless you join us, you for whom the sacred rights were written and to whom their keeping is entrusted. You the guardians of what has been bequeathed to you by millions like yourselves and by the toil of centuries as dark and menacing as this we live in. You, the people of the Federated States.
150 years is not long in the reckoning of the hill, but to a man it's long enough. "150 years is a weekend to a redwood tree, but to a man it's 2 full lifetimes. 150 years is a twinkle to a star, but to a man it's time enough to teach 6 generations what the meaning is of liberty, how to use it, when to fight for it."
Have you ever been in Washington, your capital? Have been there lately? Well, let me tell you, it's a place of buildings and of boom and bustle, of fever of emergency, of workers working overtime, of windows lighted late into the night. It's a handsome city, proud of its sturdy name, proud of the men who've stopped there and made decisions, proud of the domes and lawns and monuments. Of course, too, Washington is like some other cities you've seen. It has streetcars, haberdasheries, newsstands, coffee shops, and slums. At busy intersections, there are neon traffic signs which, when the light's against you, say, "Don't walk," and when the light changes, "Walk." It's a tourist city, which is proper when you think how much of history a busy guide can cover in a day, and when you realize that the District of Columbia belongs to all the people of the states. The tourists know that here their voices have been heard from clear back home, that here their votes are put to work. And the tourists go to see the sights they've seen 1,000 pictures of. The sights so famous and familiar that they're thrilled to find that they look just as they thought they'd look. The Washington Monument, for example, or the Lincoln Memorial, where the seated and relaxed Abe Lincoln sits between two mighty murals of plain words, his own words.
With firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations.
Oh, the city moves on busily outside the monument. The tourist goes to see the Capitol, the White House, the museums. Sees all about them, statues and inscriptions, more saying he's ever seen before. Wise sayings, profound sayings. At the Union Station, for example.
A man must carry knowledge with him if he would bring home knowledge. Samuel Johnson.
At the Archives building.
What is past is prologue.
The Supreme Court.
Justice, the guardian of liberty.
But one of the best is in the Library of Congress.
The noblest motive is the public good. Virgil.
Now, the tourist thinks that over.
The noblest motive is the public good.
And with this in mind, he climbs the marble stairs inside the library to come at length upon a case containing a handwritten document.
The engrossed original of the Constitution of the United States of America.
He sees the manuscript as aging, that its words are worn as though from use. The writing's dim. It's hard to make it out. It's getting on in years.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Yes, the words are dim, but not the meaning of words. The pen that put this down are dust, but not the marks they made. There was a time when this was shining parchment, when the text was easier to read, when the ink was not yet dry. This can be reconstructed. Suppose that we stopped here in modern Washington before this shrine, were to return, go back a little north by east in time and space, and to one bright afternoon in Philadelphia. That fine fall day when deputies from 12 free states subscribed their names to a new blueprint
The
of a new
ratification of the
society.
conventions of 9 states shall be sufficient for the establishment of this Constitution between the states so ratifying the same. Done in convention by the unanimous consent of the states present, the 17th day of September in the year of our Lord, 1787, and of the independence of the United States the 12th, in witness whereof we have hereunto subscribed our names, George Washington, President and Deputy from Virginia.
Now, gentlemen, we are ready for your signatures by geographical progression north to south. The deputies from New Hampshire will please sign first. John Langdon.
John Langdon.
Nicholas Gilman.
Nicholas Gilman.
The delegates from Massachusetts. Nathaniel Gorham.
Good-looking men, these, mostly lawyers, 2 or 3 of them surgeons.
Gentlemen from Connecticut, please. William Samuel Johnson.
Broome there, Broome of Delaware. He did surveying for a while.
Sherman.
And now our representative of
Sherman,
New York.
who just signed. He was
Alexander
a shoemaker before he studied law.
Gentlemen from New Jersey.
That's
William
Washington
Livingston.
calling the delegations.
Livingston.
David Brearley.
Yeah, the man behind Ben Franklin is Alexander Hamilton.
William
Now,
Count.
Ben's getting old now, 81.
Spate.
Yeah, he slept off and on throughout the whole convention. But when it was important to be awake, he was awake and active.
J. Rutledge.
Charles Coatsworth. Pinckney.
There have been men assembled in a room before, but never to a greater purpose.
William Few.
William Few.
Here comes the last to sign
Abraham
now.
Baldwin.
Abraham Baldwin.
That's William Jackson, secretary.
So, the Constitution has been drafted, signed, and presently will be submitted to the states for their approval. Convention is now relaxed, and there's handshaking and felicitations. Well, is everybody happy? Will they celebrate, do you suppose? Will Rufus King go home to Boston and be welcomed by a welcoming committee from the city? Will appreciative Virginians hoist James Madison to their shoulders and parade him, shouting, "Father of the Constitution," through the streets? Will Philadelphia turn out to cheer Ben Franklin for his part in it? Will a thumping band march up and down the town making a noise like this? Thumping band making a noise like this. No.
And I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, the heart of every man and every woman, they of every child in each and every one of our 13 states, from the rock-bound shores of Maryland to the golden sands of Georgia, should fill and swell with pride on reading the noble and glorious Constitution which our wise and prudent, far-sighted representatives in solemn assembly have framed and submitted to our glorious states for their approval. And I say to you...
No. There will be no speeches. There will be no band. There will be no celebration. No confetti from the windows, fireworks, saluting cannon, roses strewn beneath the coaches of the delegates. Instead, suspicion. Suspicion by every man who fought the long fight so that there could be a constitution drawn to the emancipated states. The farmers and the clerks and the hackmen and the artisans, the grease-grimed blacksmiths in their shops. These men who only lately put away their guns and powder to a good dry place. These men who won a war of freedom, but who know that freedom must be guarded to be kept. And they're suspicious. And they're talking on the common, in the tavern, in the parlor, and in the foundry room.
Well, what else does it say?
Well, that covers it. That's the whole thing.
Constitution. I don't like it.
Why?
Come here with me. Come over at the door. See that spire?
Yes?
That's the church I go to.
Well, what about it?
I like it. I'm a God-fearing man. I want to keep on going there.
Well?
I don't want anybody telling me I have to pray his way.
Well, who'd think of doing that?
Well, it's been done. It's happened often. You ever hear of state religion?
Yes?
It's bad. I don't like it. Don't think we should have it.
Well, we haven't got it.
Nothing in that thing you read me guarantees we won't get it.
You say this here Constitution gives us order and authority, huh?
Yeah.
But we had authority and order under King George before the Revolution. Shucks, the Romans had order and authority over Nero, too. Only the wrong kind, too much of it.
Yes, but you can surely trust the
Trust the men who
wrote
wrote that Constitution? Oh, sure. Sure thing, neighbor. They won't always be around.
Well, you don't seem to quite understand. You see, this is our own authority. Now, if we had...
The fact it's our own don't make no difference. Constitution's fine far as it goes, but time to talk authority is after you put it down in black and white, and we're all free men. Then we'll give you all the authority you need to keep us that way. What's more, we'll back it up with guns. That fair enough?
Well, the way you talk, you'd think that...
The way I talk, I think it all depends who's handing out authority. Whether it's to keep men slaves or keep them free.
Didn't think it was necessary. The English thought it was necessary 100 years ago. They've got a Bill of Rights. Where's ours?
Well, maybe they'll get around to that. Maybe they'll amend the Constitution later.
How do we know they will?
Well, maybe they're planning to...
Oh, I don't like this maybe business. When my husband Robert got killed at Trenton, there was no maybe about it. He got killed. He knew what he was fighting for, and he was glad to die for it. Now the fighting's over. I want to see it.
I don't know, Jerry. Sometimes I wonder whether you use your head for anything else than to keep your ears apart.
I got my opinion. I stick to it. Constitution looks good to me. I don't think it needs no adding to.
Hand me that brick there.
It's a foundation. That's what it is.
Sure, it's a foundation. That's just what I'm talking about. But do you build a foundation and then go away and not build a house? Do you clear the woods and then let the ground go barren?
Ah, piffle.
What a way to argue, piffle. Is that all you can say? Hand me that brick there.
What's the hurry? Give them time. It's not an easy job to get a new country running right.
That's just the point. It's a lot easier to get it running wrong.
Rights, 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 man. Can't you get that through your head? Why shouldn't rights be written into the Constitution just as much as rules on how to meet and when to vote and how much a senator should get paid?
And not they alone. Not only little men like they, those whose names escape us, whose names will never be recalled. The men who left their bloody footprints in the snows of Pennsylvania and buried their comrades in a clearing back of a clump of evergreens. The little men who took it, gave it, stuck for the duration, saw it through. Not they alone are doubters, wondering and grumbling. No, there are big names, too. Names now abandoned on the tongue, but later to be illustrious, later to be sainted. Tom Jefferson, George Mason, Jimmy Madison, Pat Henry. Take Jefferson, for instance. You know what he says?
Bill of Rights is what the people are entitled to against any government on earth.
Take Pat Henry.
I cannot give my oath to support this Constitution without a Bill of Rights.
I'll take Mason. A wealthy planter in Virginia who'd rather plant a seed of liberty than 20,000 acres of tobacco.
A government to be lasting must be founded in the confidence and affections of the people. Without a Bill of Rights, this government will end either in monarchy or a tyrannical aristocracy. This Constitution has been formed without the knowledge of the people. And it is not proper to say to them, take this or nothing.
Well, then, the Constitution is in peril. This document so handsomely engrossed in Philadelphia, there are doubts about it and suspicions. Well, will the states approve of it? Approve by ratifying? Will they throw it out, or will they ratify providing certain changes will be made? The writing's fresh, still fresh upon the parchment. The text is clean, the ink is bold, the meaning clear. Only the worth of the Constitution is uncertain. All the points, the articles, the regulations are well put, but will they be well taken? The states decide. Not one man, two men, three men, but the United States, they decide. What says South Carolina?
We ratify but offer 4 amendments.
What says Massachusetts? Where she stand?
We ratify but offer 9 amendments.
New Hampshire, you.
We ratify but propose 12 amendments.
Rhode Island.
We ratify but 21 amendments, please.
North Carolina.
26 amendments and a Declaration of Men's Rights.
Virginia.
We ratify, but we're suggesting 29 amendments and a Bill of Rights.
New York.
33 amendments in full faith and credit, and we ratify.
Now, Congress may begin. may call itself First Congress, may go to work, may tackle the new job of running a democracy. But it has one thing to remember. A promise is a promise. The people have been promised changes. They've been promised amendments. Promised that their freedom would be written down in black and white for all to see, for all to know, for all to live and prosper by. It'll take time. No quorum to begin with. Bad roads. New York City's hard to get to. And there'll be some indifference, too. So days go by. No quorum. Month of March goes by. No quorum. Well, patience. Good things grow slowly, you know. Good things don't come running when you whistle for them. Good things are always fought for, worked for, grown. The acorn to the oak is no overnight procedure, you know. God himself took several days to make the earth. But one day they begin. They sit down in a drafty hall in New York City and they go to work. At first they're busy with 100 other little things, but Madison, he keeps after them. He's a stickler for the Bill of Rights. Madison remembers what the people want. And by this time, carpenters were making changes in Federal Hall. They're adding more room. You know, the place has got to be enlarged. The government's growing. The representatives, all 55 of them, they work through the noise. They're making some additions of their own. They're working on the Bill of Rights.
Do you think 55 representatives of the American people sat in a hall in New York City, in a drafty hall, and made up Articles of Freedom? Do you think the congressmen from 13 states made up those freedoms out of their own heads, debated there, deliberated there, without assistance, all by themselves, from their own experience? Oh, no. They had much help from many nameless and unknown, from dust in quiet places, from broken bones deep in the earth, deep in forgotten earth, mixed with the empty clay, from bleeding mouths, burnt flesh, cropped ears, from numberless and nameless agonies. The delegates from dungeons, they were there.
I said that men were born equal. That is all I said.
The delegates from ashes at the bottoms of the stakes, they were there.
King did not approve.
The gallows delegates, whose corpses lifted gently in the breeze, they too. The exiled wanderers, the Christians killed for being Christians, Jews for being Jews, the Quakers hanged in Boston town. They made a quorum also.
Present. We are present.
The murdered men, the lopped off hands, the shattered limbs, the red welts where the whiplash bit into the back. Must you know what they said? Must you know how they argued? Must you be told the evidence? The silent testimony of the wraiths? Must it be told verbatim? Listen then. That was an argument for an amendment. That was a speech in favor of an article of freedom. That prayed the passage of a Bill of Rights. How much of all this must be told to be believed? Must it be drawn on diagrams? X marks the spot where decency was last observed.
The dotted line shows how the victim staggered. The arrow points to blood. The headsman, he was there in Federal Hall. The man who turned the ratchets on the rack, he sat in the assembly too. Nero was there, Caligula, King Philip, Torquemada, Cotton Mather. All the tyrants and the martyrs who had gone before sat quietly, unseen among the representatives, read from their memoirs, expert testimonies, found their way into the records and between the lines. All the long and bloody history of fanaticism, murder in the name of God, torture in the name of love, crucifixion in the name of safety to the crown.
My God, why hast thou forsaken me?
He too sat in the Congress. The mild man with the scars in his hands and feet where the spikes went through. He was a consultant in the business at hand. Had he not died because the rulers of a realm denied free speech? Was he not nailed up on a cross between two thieves because his preachments were considered treason? He, the Son of God, was he not executed over an issue of the rights of man? Make no mistake about it. He was there. He sat beside James Madison and Elbridge Gerry and John Page in Federal Hall. Unseen he was, but voting. The men of Congress were collaborated with. They added up the gains and losses and the brave words spoken and the brave songs sung. They weighed the drawn and quartered flesh. They took into account the hemlock and the crucifix, the faggot and garrote. And then they framed amendments to the Constitution. Out of the agonies, out of the crisscrossed scars of all the human race, they made a Bill of Rights for their own people, for a new, a willful, and a hopeful nation. Made a Bill of Rights to stand against the enemies within, connivers, fakers, those who lust for power, those who make of their authority an insolence. The Congress of the 13 states, instructed by the people of the 13 states, threw up a bulwark, wrote a hope, and made a sign for their posterity against the bigots, the fanatics, bullies, lynchers, race haters, the cruel men, the spiteful men, the sneaking men, the pessimists. The men who give up fights that have been just begun. The Congress wrote a 10-part epic of amendments.
Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law regarding an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Redburn,
I move this amendment be accepted in its present form.
These are the voices of Virginians. They are debating Congress amendments on this mild December afternoon, this 15th of December, 1791. Debating in the State Assembly in the Capitol at Richmond. Only one more state is needed now to ratify. Just one more state and the amendment becomes law. The victory is close at hand. Virginia likes these articles. Virginia, the home of Washington and Jefferson, of Madison and Mason. Virginia has fought to win these rights for many years, has waited for this day. This is December 15th, 1791. Virginia will ratify the Bill of Rights today, and freedom will take hold, take root, begin to burgeon in the rich earth of America. Today, the 15th of December.
Now the people of the states breathe easier. It's all down in black and white. A contract. It's a deal between the future and themselves. You know, Americans don't make a promise lightly. Or take it that way either. A promise made by honest men to one honest man to another is, oh, it's like a hand clasp and a vow. Meant to be understood, meant to be remembered. Ah, look about the country now. Suspicion thaws like the frost beneath the frank diplomacy of spring. And the people read the new amendments slowly, pleasurefully, as they'd read a letter from a son just set up in business, who'd written home to tell how he was making good.
Oh, well, now, that's more like it. That's more like it.
Got your sleeve in the soup, dear. What's more like what?
Listen to this. Amendment 2. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
That mean you can keep your gun?
That means if somebody gets into office and turns sour on the people that put him there, why, he can't vex us with a standing army the way George did before the war. If we people of the states got arms, nobody's going to order us to do things the majority of the country ain't voted for, not without a fight.
Better eat that soup or it gets cold. Shouldn't read when you eat anyways. Put down the paper.
Oh, all right.
That's a good law, ain't it, Jasper?
Yep.
Go on reading it. Why do you stop?
Well, how can you hear me when you're hammering?
Concentration. Go on.
Amendment 3. No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law.
Give me elbow grease. Just hearing things like that makes the old hammer handle easier.
The way this sounds, you'd think we was expecting another war. In a time of war, this says. I thought we'd just been all through that a little while back.
Walter. The more these amendments make us free, the more they'll be hated by those who don't want freedom, because it spoils their game. Think nobody's going to be jealous? Think they won't try to break us up because we're united and agreed? Some people are just ornery that way. It'll gripe them to see us get stronger as we go along. Gripe them like poison. Wouldn't surprise me none if we had to fight more wars.
You mean to say we're going to maybe have to fight all over again to keep our independence? Well, hope it don't get to be a habit.
I hope it does. It's a pretty good habit to get into fighting for your rights. There's always somebody waiting for a chance to steal valuables. And if freedom ain't valuable, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Well.
All right, go on, read some more.
Amendment 4. The rights of the people to be secure in their persons, homes, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Shall not be violated. No warrant shall issue that upon probable cause, supported by oath and affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Amendment 5. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime.
Well, now we've got something to build on. Now we got a foundation. Now we can build something, well, that'll stand up in any storm that comes along. Hand me that brick there, Jerry.
I brought you these, Robert. I grew them myself inside the house. Don't smell much, but they're awful pretty. Everything's going on about the same at the house. Except I'm a year older since I was here last. I guess you don't have to worry anymore, Robert. Guess you can rest in peace now. Looks like it's going to be all right. They didn't trick you, Robert. Looks all right.
Voices of Americans in Maryland, in Pennsylvania, Connecticut, the Carolinas, Georgia, up and down the little seaboard nation, the voices of Americans together now, together in a new way, a strange new way, a way that men have never lived together in before. And they're proud men, unsuspicious, trusting men. They're fighting over their living just begun. They're building and they're working and they're singing just now getting started.
Here strangers from 1,000 shores, compelled by tyranny to roam, shall find amid abundant stores a nobler and a happier home. Rejoice, Columbia's sons, rejoice. To tyrants never bend the knee, but join with heart and soul and voice for Jefferson and liberty. Here art shall lift her laureled head, wealth, industry, and peace divine, and where dark pathless forests spread, rich fields and lofty cities shine.
Shall this song make good its promise? Does this folk tune hold a truth? Shall strangers from 1,000 shores be compelled by tyrannies to roam? Shall they find here, amidst abundant stores, a nobler and a happy home? 150 years from this beginning, how much of what is said and what is sung and what is written down shall still be good? This parchment of the Bill of Rights, with the word resolve so plainly written on it, how long will it endure? Is it a passport to a greater day? Will future generations read it, sanction it, and pass on it? Will children's children live by it and work and profit by it? Look it over. Look it over. It is new. The parchment shines. The text is easy reading. The words are not yet worn with trial and experience. The writing's fresh, the meaning clear. The parchment gleams in the December sunlight like a burnished shield uprised against oppression.
Otherwise infamous crime, unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising out in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life and limb, nor shall he be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation.
Now, let's go ahead 150 years from now.
Criminal
Let's rush
prosecutions,
headlong,
the accused
unstopping
shall
down the
enjoy
corridors
the
of
right
time.
to a speedy
Let's
and
go ahead to
public trial by an
1941.
impartial jury
The writing
of
dims.
state and district
The parchment
wherein
cracks
the
and
crime
curls up at the
shall
edges.
have been committed,
The splotch of time is on it,
shall have been
and the yellowing of
previously
years.
ascertained by law,
And now,
and be informed
it's
of
in a case in
nature
Washington,
and
D.C.
cause of the accusation.
It's in a case behind a pane of special glass protecting it from the light.
To have
The paper only.
process
For its meaning is abroad throughout the land on 100 million special panes, the panes one takes for liberty. Protect this meaning from the dark. You see that tourist bending over it? He's trying hard to make the writing out. He's tracing the rights of a person accused of crime.
Amendment 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right
to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense.
Where does this tourist come from? Well, maybe from a place undreamed of when the Bill of Rights was born. A land as far away from Federal Hall as Europe. Oh, California. Now, what lies tonight between that place and here? 4 dozen states without a yard of fenced-in border. 130 million people. And schools and factories and churches and courts of law and auto courts. Stores and restaurants and rivers and cattle ranches. Hockey rinks. Trains on the move and planes on the wing and people working and people resting up to work some more. People working in a mighty unison to prosecute a war. Well, let's move along. Let's move among them. Let's hear them living lives and thinking thoughts and giving off opinion. Let's see now what they have to say. A 150 winters after Richmond. Let's see what happened to the Bill of Rights through 33 administrations, 77 Congress, and a half a dozen wars. Now, suppose we drop down on a smoking coach between a Pullman car named Yonde and Cirilla Springs.
Want us a part of the paper?
Not that paper. I don't like it. Why do they let it be printed?
No wonder to me.
You mean you agree with it?
No, but I agree with a free press. So does the Supreme Court, by the way. Did you see where it decided a case in favor of paper only last week?
Yeah. They're always doing something like that.
Is that bad?
No. See that funny part, will you?
Still deciding issues of freedom of the press? In favor of freedom? Well, it's a healthy sign 6 generations from James Madison. Now, let's see, what else is going on? Who else has anything to say about the status of men's rights? December 15th, 1941.
I have something to say, if you don't mind. I'm in jail tonight, but I'm joining in your celebration and cheering as hard as anybody else.
Well, if you don't mind my asking, what...
Trumped-up charge. The old routine in the city. But I'm getting out on bail tomorrow, and when I'm finally tried, it'll be by a jury and in public. None of this Gestapo stuff. Not that they wouldn't try it if they could, but that little 450-word matter you're celebrating tonight stopped them short of that.
Well, what did they chuck you in the clink for anyway? I mean, what charge?
Making a speech for the Fusion Party against the mayor. First, we hired a hall. They took away our permit. Said the building was unsafe under an old fire ordinance. So then we went down to Garrison Square, where no permit is required to speak in public, and within 10 minutes we were on our way to the police station on charges of blocking traffic, disturbing the peace, and inciting to riot.
No, it's a fine thing.
Yes, but listen, we'll beat him. He's scared of us. He's scared the people will find out the truth, and with good reason. Because when they do, he's finished. That's why he doesn't want us to be heard. It's only the crooks and the frightened little big shots who need to shut up their opponents. That may work all right in some other countries, but not here.
Well, how are you going to beat them, though?
Well, there's such things as rights on our side. Not even the mayor's machine is powerful enough to stop us. We'll fight that fight on every front. Carry it to the highest courts if necessary. And we'll win.
Is this the talk of servile men? Of tamed and gutless and obedient men? Is this the kind of talk you hear from slaves and witless followers? Not quite. No, not exactly. This is what they meant in Federal Hall when they voted for 150 years ago today in Richmond. Those 10 amendments are not dusty statues loafing in retirement. They're a pep talk to the fighters and a fortress to the undefended. They double bar the front door of the home against the culprit and the searching party. They stand for drinks for anybody toasting freedom. And of all things, they're not a set of legal cloths, dry and dusty. Although, Amendment 7 makes us wonder.
Amendment 7. In suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law.
Except for that, not like a lawyer's brief at all, but mostly like a kind of a freestyle ode to liberty. 10 verses long.
Amendment 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted.
Treason in most of Europe. Sentiment like that today.
Amendment 9. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people.
Do you notice how many times it says the people? Well, now, can it be because it means the people? Yes, it can.
Amendment 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people.
Powers reserved to the people in a Bill of Rights. How the mighty and the proud have fallen. Why, King John, who threw a fit when barons made him sign the Magna Carta. Barons, mind you, who were heedless of the common people. John, the tough old monarch. Why, he would have died 1,000 deaths of apoplexy at the mention of the thought of it. The pharaohs of old Egypt, masters of the blackest arts of slavery. They would have crawled inside a pyramid and shut 147 secret doors behind them in a panic.
A promise is a promise. Has America's been kept? Has it come through peace and war untarnished and unbroken? Has it worked and is it working? For the people, by the people? Is it going anywhere from here? Are the rights the right rights? Are they rolling? Do they function? Do they click? Well, who knows the answer better than the people? Who better can we ask than ask the great custodians themselves, the 100 million keepers of the promise? And we shall ask them. Ask a few of them who stand for many more than few, the high and the low among them. Ladies and gentlemen, an office clerk.
Well, we know what freedom is now. Looked for a while there like a lot of us had forgot how to measure it, but the news from the four corners of the earth reminded us, all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, an editor.
There have been attacks on the freedom of the press, strangleholds of various sorts, but they've been broken every time. And today, a man is free to start a paper, run it as he pleases, differ from the next man all he wants. That would make it seem to me, for one, that our rights have come down undamaged.
Ladies and gentlemen, a worshiper.
I go to the church of my choice. And sometimes when I don't wish to go, I don't go.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, an auto worker.
We got the right to organize. We got the right to bargain collectively. Those are good rights, and we're proud of them. And we're better workers on account of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, a manufacturer.
There is nothing in any law which forbids us to forget class differences and work together to strengthen the sinews of our country so that the rights of all classes may forever be preserved.
Ladies and gentlemen, an Okie.
I got a right if I'm hungry and out of work, which I have been, to go looking for work anywhere in my country. The big court says nobody can't stop me from looking. Dang it, that's my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, a mother.
I might be afraid to bring a child into the world, but not to bring a citizen into the population of this country.
And from men beneath the rocking spars of fishing boats in Gloucester, from the vast tenancy of busy cities rowing with the million mingled sounds of work, from towns spread thinly through the Appalachians, from the assembly lines, the forges spitting flame, the night shift in the mines, the great flat countries of the prairie states, from the grocers and from the salesmen, and the tugboat pilots and the motor makers. Affirmation, yes, united proudly in a solemn day, knit more strongly than we were 150 years ago this day. Can it be progress if our Bill of Rights is stronger now than when it was conceived? Is it not what you'd call wearing well? The incubation of invincibility? Is not our Bill of Rights more cherished now than ever? The blood more zealous to preserve it whole? Americans shall answer, for they alone, they know the answer, the people of America, from east, from west, from north, from south. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the people of the United States.
All right. That cuts off right there when Franklin Roosevelt was supposed to come on and talk to you, but he wasn't available that day, so he's not there. In any case, that was the rehearsal, heard for the very first time here on the Good Old Days of Radio show since it was recorded in 1941. This is part of our salute to the Poet Laureate of Radio, the boy genius of CBS, Mr. Norman Corwin. So I want to wish everybody in our listening audience out there a very happy 4th of July. Stay safe, stay sane. Don't blow your hands off with fireworks or do anything crazy. And just remember why you're blowing off fireworks and why you're celebrating and not out in the streets protesting like some people seem to be doing these days. Celebrate the 4th of July. Don't protest it. All right. This is the Good Old Days of Radio show. We will be back on Tuesday with another Norman Corwin program. This one called Les Affaires Gumpert, starring Elsa Lanchester and Charles Lawton. And that is one fun couple, if you know anything about them. If you don't, you'll enjoy their presentation anyway. It's an interesting broadcast. So that'll be next Tuesday. And then next Thursday, we have another very rare program, not heard since 1939. A Norman Corwin program called The Pursuit of Happiness. And we're not just going to hear the actual program, we're going to hear, again, the rehearsal for the program. So that's next Thursday. And then we have a couple surprises after that for the following week, and then we're done with Norman Corwin for a while. So until next Tuesday, this is John Tefteller and the Good Old Days of Radio show saying thank you for listening. Goodbye.